In episode 62, Tracking Indicators, Variance, and Trends, we explore how numbers tell the story of risk over time. Indicators are the pulse of any monitoring system, offering early insight into whether a project is healthy, drifting, or entering new territory. They translate uncertainty into observable data, allowing managers to react with clarity instead of instinct. When chosen well, these signals serve as lenses through which we watch strategy unfold in real conditions. They reveal both strength and strain before events force reaction. Understanding indicators means understanding behavior, the systems, the teams, and sometimes our own assumptions about how risk should behave. Not all measurements deserve to be called indicators. A good indicator must be meaningful, observable, and few in number. Many organizations drown in dashboards, tracking more metrics than they can interpret. Discipline begins with selection. Indicators must connect directly to risk objectives and clearly reflect the health of associated controls. For instance, in a cybersecurity project, patch latency or incident frequency are sharper measures of exposure than total tickets closed. Observable means data can be gathered consistently, without bias or guesswork. A select set of indicators that genuinely illuminate reality outperforms a crowded display that confuses signal with noise. Every indicator needs a baseline, a defined sense of normal. Without one, it becomes impossible to say whether change represents improvement or deterioration. Baselines are not static. They are living references built from historical data, expert judgment, or initial observations. Alongside baselines come expected ranges, which define the zone of routine variation. These ranges frame context so that small fluctuations do not cause false alarms. They help teams distinguish between healthy variability and emerging concern. A baseline gives meaning to movement, turning raw figures into context and ensuring that interpretation rests on evidence, not emotion or anecdote. Variance tells the story behind every metric. Common variance represents natural, random fluctuation inherent in any process. Special variance signals that something specific and unusual has altered conditions. The art of monitoring lies in separating these two. Overreacting to common variance wastes energy and undermines confidence. Ignoring special variance invites hidden escalation. Tools like control charts and statistical rules help make that distinction, but awareness and judgment remain essential. Recognizing variance type enables smarter decision-making, knowing when to adjust and when to stay steady. Variance interpretation, then, becomes an early warning discipline, not just a mathematical exercise. Run charts are among the simplest yet most powerful visualization tools for understanding variance. By plotting indicators over time, they reveal direction, stability, and rhythm. A flat run suggests steady performance. A consistent rise or fall hints at drift, while oscillations expose volatility. Run charts emphasize context, how one data point fits within a story rather than standing alone. They democratize data interpretation by making patterns visible even to non-statisticians. When maintained over a full project lifecycle, they become a visual narrative of the system's health, allowing teams to anticipate shifts before thresholds are breached or risks materialize. Slope, level, and volatility are three key dimensions of interpretation. Slope describes direction, the rate at which things are improving or worsening. Level defines position, whether performance is fundamentally higher or lower than target. Volatility captures stability, the degree of fluctuation around the mean. Each reveals different insights about control effectiveness. A steady upward slope might signal growing efficiency, or it might mask overutilization depending on context. Volatility spikes could indicate instability in process control. Interpreting these dimensions together paints a richer picture, ensuring that action aligns with reality rather than reacting to a single snapshot of misleading optimism or concern. Indicators gain meaning only when connected to hypotheses. A change in data must trigger a question: why might this be happening? Linking indicator movement to hypotheses transforms measurement into analysis. For example, if defect rates rise after new code deployment, the hypothesis might be that testing coverage was reduced. The next step is verification. This approach keeps teams scientific, testing explanations instead of inventing stories. By connecting data to hypotheses, organizations prevent knee-jerk reactions and instead pursue structured inquiry. Hypothesis-driven interpretation turns monitoring from passive observation into active learning, turning each signal into a potential improvement opportunity. When an indicator shifts, the task is not simply to raise a flag, but to investigate causes. Flags are symptoms. Causes are the diagnosis. Teams must look beyond numbers to processes, people, and context. Interviews, timeline reviews, and comparative analysis provide clarity. Sometimes the cause is benign, like a one-time event. Other times it exposes structural weaknesses. Without investigation, the same pattern will recur, eroding confidence in the monitoring system itself. Root cause analysis is not about blame, it is about restoring predictability. Understanding why an indicator moved gives management control over both correction and prevention. Combining indicators often yields stronger confidence than relying on any single one. A multi-dimensional view reduces blind spots. For instance, in project risk management, cost variance, schedule variance, and defect density together provide a more balanced picture of progress than any alone. When combined thoughtfully, indicators corroborate or challenge each other, sharpening interpretation. However, combining requires care. Too many metrics can dilute meaning. The goal is convergence, not accumulation. Triangulating across indicators builds assurance that observed changes represent genuine shifts in risk posture, reinforcing that monitoring is an ecosystem, not a collection of isolated dials. When thresholds are crossed, escalation must follow a defined path. Thresholds exist to trigger conversation and, if needed, action. The best escalation frameworks distinguish between alert and alarm, ensuring proportional response. A breached limit might warrant investigation, additional observation, or immediate intervention, depending on impact and trend. Escalation is about momentum management, preventing small deviations from becoming systemic failures. It depends on timely communication and clearly assigned responsibility. Organizations that treat thresholds seriously demonstrate maturity. They show that risk limits are not symbolic, but operational boundaries, guiding disciplined response and shared accountability. No indicator should live forever. Measures that no longer correlate with outcomes or that produce excessive noise should be retired. Continuing to track irrelevant metrics creates distraction and breeds cynicism. Periodic review keeps dashboards honest and useful. Retiring weak indicators also makes room for better ones as understanding evolves. Each metric must earn its place by delivering actionable insight. When a measure fails to influence decisions, it ceases to serve its purpose. Pruning the monitoring system maintains clarity, focus, and credibility, ensuring that the organization measures what matters, not merely what is easy to count. Communicating trends requires plain language. Technical accuracy means little if stakeholders cannot grasp the implication. Reports should translate movement into meaning, explaining whether risk is increasing, decreasing, or stabilizing, and what that means for decisions ahead. Graphs help, but words create alignment. Clear communication avoids jargon and focuses on relevance, how trends affect goals, budgets, or safety. When managers speak plainly about signals, trust grows. Transparency invites collaboration and shared problem-solving. Reporting, then, becomes not an act of compliance, but a bridge between analysis and action, a way to keep everyone reading the same pulse of reality. Data becomes wisdom only when it guides decisions. Tracking indicators, interpreting variances, and reading trends are the tools that connect information to action. They transform uncertainty into a form that can be managed, debated, and improved. The discipline lies not in counting, but in listening. Listening to what the signals say about the system's behavior and what adjustments will keep performance aligned with intent. In risk management, this vigilance is the difference between surprise and foresight. Decisions anchored in signals create stability, accountability, and confidence, ensuring that organizations steer by evidence, not emotion. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.